an old and abandoned hospital, there was a doctor named Mark working in the emergency department. One dark and rainy night, he received an emergency call reporting a serious car accident. When Mark arrived at the scene, he found the driver of the car seriously injured. He decided to take him immediately to the hospital. They arrived at the hospital safely, but noticed a mysterious shadow following them from the scene of the accident. When they arrived at the emergency room and began treating the patient, the shadow suddenly disappeared. There was no explanation for this strange phenomenon, but it soon began to happen again. Mark saw the shadow again in different parts of the hospital and began to suspect that something supernatural was following them. Events escalated strangely as incomprehensible phenomena began to occur inside the hospital. When Mark decided to research the hospital's history, he discovered that it had been used decades earlier for strange and suspicious purposes. Was this shadow a lost soul or something else? This mystery still baffles everyone. Mark, a doctor who was working at the hospital, decided to check out this mysterious shadow for himself. He began searching for information about the hospital's history and ancient events that might be connected to the shadow. He met a number of old nurses and staff who lived through that mysterious period. Through his conversations with them, he discovered that the hospital had witnessed a series of mysterious events in the past. There were reports of missing persons and unexplained matters, and some people said they saw a mysterious shadow appear and disappear randomly throughout the hospital. During his research, Mark discovers an old file that tells the story of a former psychopath named David. The report said that David was suffering from serious psychological disorders and that he was claiming to see a shadow talking to him. One time, David decided to follow the shadow into one of the secret passages inside the hospital and then disappeared. Over time, Mark begins to feel that the shadow is speaking to him as well and begins to learn more about David's fate. Mark decided to do the same and follow the shadow into the mysterious secret passages in an attempt to uncover the mystery. When he entered the corridors, he found himself in a dark and deserted place, filled with symbols and mysterious drawings on the walls. He walked for a few minutes before he found himself in front of a tightly closed door. As he tried to open it, he felt that there was something else in the corridor with him. The shadow turned into a terrifying entity that quickly moved towards him, and when it reached him, it turned into a mysterious black mist and engulfed him. While he was immersed in this fog, strange sounds and terrifying visions were heard. Mark was desperately trying to escape this dark entity and uncover the origins of the mystery surrounding the hospital. This story remains fraught with mystery and horror, as the fate of Mark and the mysterious shadow remains unknown. This was an old psychiatric hospital with a dark history of mysterious psychiatric treatments. One day, a young nurse decided to explore the old secret passages of the hospital that had not been used for years. While he was roaming the corridors, he noticed a strange sound coming from one of the corners. Head towards the sound and discover a tightly closed door. He tried to open it, and when he succeeded, he was pleasantly surprised. He found himself in front of a dark room filled with old psychiatric beds and mysterious devices. As he walked around the room, he heard strange voices approaching him. His eyes locked in the poisonous darkness behind the dust-tinged glass. As he tried to escape, he became stuck in this terrifying room with something unknown approaching him. Finding himself stuck in the dark room, stretching out in front of him, the young nurse began to feel panic creeping up on him. The families and ancient psychological devices were surrounding him on all sides, and there was no apparent way out. Suddenly, the lights began to slowly fade inside the room, and mysterious whispering sounds filled the air. This place, which had been abandoned for decades, seemed to have strangely come back to life. At that moment, mysterious and ghostly shapes appeared, quickly moving between families and devices. The nurse couldn't clearly identify their features, but they looked like lost souls searching for something missing. Later, the nurse was overcome by panic and decided to escape. He quickly passed the dark shapes and a group of terrifying sounds and rushed towards the exit. As soon as he left the dark room, he found himself in the hospital corridors again. But he was not alone, as those strange shapes appeared again, and they began to quickly approach him. The nurse ran madly through the hospital corridors, desperately trying to find another way out. Finally, after hours of desperately running among ghostly spirits, he found another door leading outside. He rushed out into the fresh air and left the hospital with difficulty, and as he sat on the ground gasping, he felt that he had miraculously escaped something completely incomprehensible. The nurse left the place and no longer dared to return to the old hospital again. But he had many questions left unanswered, and he kept wondering about the mysterious phenomenon he experienced that night, and whether these strange ghosts were real or just imagination. This story is about an abandoned hospital that is said to be haunted. There were rumors of a mysterious phenomenon occurring in the old building regularly. Several witnesses said they saw ghosts wandering the hospital corridors and patient rooms late at night. One adventurer decided to search for an explanation for this phenomenon. Out of fear and curiosity, he entered the hospital in the middle of the night equipped with a camera and exploration equipment. As he roamed the dark hospital, he heard mysterious voices and frightening visions. While he was carrying the camera, he recorded the terrible events he encountered. He manages to take creepy photos and videos showing ghosts and strange sounds. But he began to feel that he was not alone in this place. Will he find an explanation? After the terrifying night in the abandoned hospital, the adventurer can no longer forget what he saw and experienced. He returned home with a heart heavy with worries and doubts. He started searching online and investigated to learn more about the hospital's history. He discovered that there were many old testimonies and accounts about mysterious events and strange phenomena associated with the hospital. These phenomena were the appearance of incomprehensible sounds, mysterious lights fading in the air, and terrifying visions of ghosts and lost souls. The adventurer began communicating with other people who had seen something similar in the hospital. He met an eyewitness named Sarah, who had worked as a nurse in the hospital years before. Sarah shared her terrifying story and had also witnessed the mysterious phenomenon. The adventurer and Sarah decide to work together to uncover the secrets of the abandoned hospital. Loaded with exploration equipment and cameras, they revisited the place to document any evidence that could help them understand the phenomenon. As they passed through the dark corridors, they began to hear incomprehensible sounds and see mysterious lights. They kept recording everything they witnessed and sought to understand the origin of this mysterious phenomenon. At that moment, they overcame their fears and decided to follow the sounds and lights to a certain place inside the hospital. They arrived at an old locked room, and when they opened the door, they discovered something they did not expect. They were in front of old files and documents related to the hospital and the patients who were treated there. There were video recordings showing mysterious psychological experiments performed on patients. They also found information indicating the existence of secret passages used for unknown purposes. The story did not end here, but they began searching for more evidence to understand the mysteries surrounding the abandoned hospital and the phenomenon of ghosts and mysterious voices. With more evidence and information they discovered in the abandoned hospital, the adventurer and Sarah decided to look for more testimonies from people who experienced this strange phenomenon. They held meetings with other people and collected horrific stories that connected them all to the abandoned hospital. During that research, they received a call from a stranger named Robert. Robert claimed that he was a patient in the hospital and that he witnessed terrifying situations related to the phenomenon of ghosts and strange sounds. They agreed to meet with Robert at the hospital to talk in more detail. When they arrived at the hospital, they found Robert stressed and terrified. He began to give testimony about his own experiences in this terrifying place. He said he was having disturbing dreams that showed him strange visions and terrifying sounds. In a moment of madness, Robert decided to walk through the abandoned secret corridors of the hospital to uncover the origin of this phenomenon. He went with the adventurer and Sarah to the place he always went to in his bad dreams. When they got there, the lights began to fade and mysterious sounds appeared. But this time, things didn't seem so scary, but there was something else. A large screen appeared in the room, showing horrific pictures and video footage of patients and doctors and nurses performing horrific psychological experiments on patients. They discovered that the hospital had been used for dangerous psychological experiments many years ago, and that the mysterious phenomenon was the result of these experiments. They began to collect more information about these experiences and the people affected by them. After they revealed horrific facts, they decided to share what they discovered with the authorities and the public to contribute to uncovering the truth and ensuring that these terrible psychological experiments would not be repeated. The story of the mysterious phenomenon ended with the mystery being revealed and an attempt to cleanse the hospital of its terrifying past. After that horrific experience in the abandoned hospital, the brave adventurer decided to share what happened to him with everyone. He posted his videos and photos online and wrote an article explaining his strange experience. It wasn't long until people started interacting with his story. Many people reached out to him and shared their similar experiences in the abandoned hospital. The matter began to spread on social media, and the hospital turned into a place famous for legends and strange events. Local authorities examined the hospital and opened an official investigation into what happened there. Those mysterious psychological experiments carried out in the past that affected many patients were investigated. Over time, the hospital became a center for scientific research into occult phenomena and psychic experiments. The evidence was carefully documented and studied, and they had a better understanding of what happened in this terrifying place. The abandoned hospital has been transformed into an educational museum that tells its mysterious history and the experiments that took place there. Across generations, this story has become a reminder of the importance of integrity and ethics in scientific research and psychotherapy. Thus ends the story of the mysterious phenomenon, where courage and commitment to the truth were able to uncover the mystery and revive this abandoned place in an educational and beneficial way for everyone.